Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I guess Hinokami Chronicles 2 has finally been announced. It's official. I obviously knew this game was coming out. It was obvious. If you pay attention to any reputable sources, you already knew this shit was gonna come out eventually. Now the trailer we do have, I just want to make it clear that there's not really a lot that we can deduce, and that's actually one of the main reasons why I'm going unscripted here is because I'm kind of waiting until Jump Festa so that we can have more info on the gameplay and that actually break down. But I will say though that I am excited. I do like the first game. I know not everyone's a fan. Some people think it's a Storm clone. I think it's not even remotely similar to Storm, aside from the ways they present certain cutscenes and some of the story mode stylistic choices, but like even then, I think it's very different, and I would actually consider this one of my favorite arena fighters. It's actually one of the few arena fighters that I actually feel compelled to get good at. But anyway, um, I do actually want to kind of talk about at least some of the things we do know about it. So let's play. Also, something worth noting: it's being published by Sega. Now the thing is, to give a little bit of context, technically speaking, this is an Aniplex game. However, ever since the first game, it does seem like whenever they want to release this outside of Japan, they publish it through Sega. Sega basically becomes their like avenue of publishing the content, which isn't something that I'm fully knowledgeable on exactly why that's the case, but it is something that is worth noting. Just don't see this game as like a Sega game. It's technically not. It's an Aniplex game, but yeah, and obviously the developer is CyberConnect too. Well, in terms of animation style and overall quality, doesn't seem to be too different from the first game. Not that I think it really needs to be honest. 'Cause I think the first game already looks pretty good, and we'll get to that once we get into once we get to the finale of the trailer. I just want to spoil something. This is a cross-platform game, so yeah. But before we get to that, I just want to say, game kind of looks the same as the first one, but I don't necessarily see that as a problem. I don't think every game needs to be like a huge fucking graphical leap as long as they improve the gameplay. I'm alright with that. Enters a new stage. I guess they're referring to just a new entry. Also, you'll notice that they highlight the Hashira here, which is pretty cool. I actually remember when the first game came out, there was a lot of concerns about whether or not the game would feature demons, and it does feature demons. But once we got to like DLC content, I don't know if I would consider it a season pass, but did that game actually have a season pass system? Actually, I'm not sure. I don't remember. But regardless, in 2022, when they started releasing character DLCs and stuff like that, they didn't release for a ton of Hashiras. Yeah, now that I think about it, I don't think there were that many. I mean, I guess there were the trio, but they were basically the same characters, just with updated skills and ultimate. Um, of course, there was Tengen, and who else? Who else? I think the other ones were just demons. So yeah, I guess they did take that initial criticism to heart, where people were really concerned about the demons not being, uh, where people were really concerned about the game not featuring demons. Which I mean, the game was obviously going to have demons, but a lot of people really did believe that. Pretty cool. Might have noticed here that this is a new ultimate. Now the thing is, something that I'm not entirely sure is whether or not we're gonna have different variants of the same character, or if we're just gonna have one variant, but the ultimate's gonna be different, or if the move set is also gonna change a little bit. Because with Storm, pretty much since Storm 2, a lot of Shippuden characters didn't really change a whole lot. Some did, but a lot of them actually didn't. And so I'm actually kind of wondering how they're gonna handle this. This one, I think it's the same. I don't remember. I have to go double check. Yeah, this one is definitely new. Because her ultimate like turns her into a fucking butterfly, but we are not seeing that. So this is definitely updated. Very cool. This seems like a new stadium. Now, me personally, when it comes, well, to be fair, this could just be a story mode exclusive stage, but I doubt. Now, I'm just gonna be completely honest with you. When it comes to fighting games, I don't really care that much about the stage, especially arena fires, because they're all the fucking same. So, like, they're the same in terms of like how much impact it actually has. I don't know, and yeah, I'm not really too concerned about that. It's nice eye candy. It's nice seeing different stages for a variety of the environment, but in terms of something that I actually care about, not a lot. It's actually really cool seeing characters that actually did show up in the story mode of Hinokami Chronicles, but they were never playable, but now they're actually playable, so that's interesting. This is nice. It does seem like the game will continue to be story centered, which I think is good because I think that's CyberConnect 2's main fucking strength. The thing is, to me, with Storm Connections were one of the biggest misses, and it's something that I'm genuinely surprised they didn't fucking realize, is the fact that CyberConnect 2 is one of their biggest strengths, one of their biggest like marketing one of the biggest fucking like marketable aspects of the studio is the fact that they've made story modes that are really good. Like, there are a lot of people that prefer playing Storm 2 to 4 over actually watching the Naruto anime. Now, granted, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but still, like, that's just how much of an achievement they've had. And so the fact that in Storm Connections, like, they didn't really adapt any of the Boruto material, and the story mode that does exist there is like one of the worst. Like, I feel like it was a situation where they severely underestimated the one aspect of their entire history of developing games that I think they are good at, which is making good story modes. So if they continue doing that in Kimetsu no Yaiba, in Hinokami Chronicles 2, I'm completely happy. Also, fun fact about this game, I remember when Hinokami Chronicles came out, some people were wondering if the game would have story DLC, adapting like the material from season 2, and the answer was no. Now, I personally speaking, I wouldn't really, I actually wasn't really expecting that. I didn't think they would do it, and I'm glad they didn't, because I would much rather them accumulate anime material for the next game than actually releasing DLC content with story. Like, this game isn't like Kakarot, where I feel like Kakarot, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, like, maybe there might be a sequel that adapts the fucking super story mode, but like, I feel like that's a game that's like meant to adapt like all of Z, and yeah, beyond that, like, we're probably not going to, like, for example, any of the arcs from the movies or the arcs that came out before Z. Those are the ones that I feel like there's a pretty good fucking opportunity to actually adapt them in Kakarot. But with Hinokami Chronicles, I feel like it just makes more sense to wait until the next fucking game. So yeah, and it does seem like it's happening here. It does seem like they're adapting the material from season 2, which I think is good. Interesting. Here's something that I wanna note. This is Blood. Now, I could be misremembering, but the first game doesn't have a ton of blood. And actually, I might need to revisit the game because I don't remember. Here's the thing with CyberConnect 2 and Blood. So if we're talking about the PS2 games, those ones we're not even gonna talk about them because they just had like the levels of violence there were like negligible. Storm 1 and 2 didn't have blood. I believe in Storm 3, they started having blood, including during actual friendly matches. Like, there was actually a feature where you could enable or disable bloods. It wasn't a ton of blood, granted, but, a little bit of blood. And during the actual story mode, there were, like, certain parts in the story where we would see, like, drippets of blood. But then in Storm 4, they really watered down the levels of blood in it, and so in Hinokami Chronicles, I don't even remember having a ton of blood, and so seeing this is nice. I hope to see more blood.
いつだって誰かが助けてくれて、俺は結果間違わずに済んでいるだけです。
Now here's something interesting: destroy demons with the power of forged bonds, and then after that, they're gonna show what seems like a tag team ultimate. So yeah, the game's gonna have tag team ultimate. That's the only new feature that we can confirm, which is the fact that it has tag team ultimate. Because besides that, we haven't really seen anything particularly new. I do believe they are going to update the gameplay, but we don't really know again. You have to wait until Jump Festa, but this is the one thing we can at least confirm. Pretty nice. Now, here's the part that I'm a little bit concerned about. Here where it says PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. This might also concern me a little bit, the Switch part, but I'll explain a little why. Now, here's the thing about PlayStation 4. Now, if you've watched some of my past videos, then you know that I'm not exactly someone who's like super bitchy about cross-platform games. Like, I'm of the belief that, hey, if your game can be played on previous platforms, I'm not gonna begrudge you. Because the thing is, I feel like some people have it in their head that like the PlayStation, like the previous generation of consoles, is like holding back this new one. But in reality, if we actually look at games that are PS5 and Xbox Series X exclusives, like, not only do they not seem like, not to say that you can just easily port those things to like older gen, because I'm sure there's some ways with how the world is rendered and some of the tasks that the CPU handles that the PS4 and Xbox One probably wouldn't be able to do it very easily. But even then, like, if we see a lot of the games that are like next gen exclusives, like, in terms of like how much it's pushing the technology, it's not really doing a whole lot. And in terms of graphics, I've seen plenty of games that I would actually argue look worse than even some PlayStation 3 games. And so to me, the whole argument that old gen is like holding back new one, I don't really believe it. I think game developers are holding back games. I don't think it's the actual fucking platform. I don't think making something cross-platform is like holding back. Like, at the end of the day, if you're making a game that's like not taking that huge advantage of a newer platform, I don't think you're committing a sin by releasing it on the previous one if you can do it. However, in this case, there are two concerns. The first one is with the frame rate, because if they're releasing this for the PlayStation 4, they have to make the game run at 30 FPS. This game, I don't think, can run at 60 FPS on the PlayStation 4, which doing this could cause some concerns with the online, because if this game has like um cross-platform online, meaning that you can play against PlayStation 4 players, then it basically becomes a situation like with the first game where doing ranked, you're only allowed to play at 30 FPS. Now, with Storm Connections, they did this thing where you can exclude players that are running the game at 30 FPS, and so I hope they do that. But still, at the end of the day, I have to imagine that the team behind Storm Connections and the team behind Hinokami Chronicles are probably not the same. So just because you see one solution in one game doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see that solution in the other game. So I think they should, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, there's also the Switch port. Now, I have no problems with this game releasing on the Switch. In fact, I think the first game, like the Hinokami Chronicles 1, has a really good Switch port. However, I also think that it was good because they released it like several months after the game first came out. And so they had a lot of time to like make sure the port was good. But now that they actually have to release this simultaneously with the other platforms, I really hope they do a good job because aside from Storm Connections, which I haven't actually seen the Switch port, so I'm not entirely sure, but like other games, they eventually got released for the Switch, but it was like years later. And so I'm part of me is wondering if, the Switch port might have some potential issues with optimization because it is I mean, I guess if this is being released for the PlayStation 4, maybe it's not gonna have a ton of it, but yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But there is one other concern, and this one is like really scaring me, and it has to do with the argument I was making earlier about cross-platform games being held back. Even though I do think that for the most part it's probably not, there is one area where I do think this game might be held back, and that is in terms of the open world. Because the thing is, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are perfectly capable of having really intricate, really like fairly rich open worlds. However, CyberConnect 2 has not made a good open world for a very fucking long time. And, I have to believe that a lot of it is due to production limitations. And the thing is, the PS5 and Xbox Series X, they have a more powerful processor, and they also have much faster SSDs and much higher overall RAM. And so, if they wanted to implement an open world, maybe having a more powerful platform would allow them to do that without maybe having the same constraints that they had before. Like at the end of the day, they would still have to put in work to actually implement, you know, fairly intricate, open world environments with like mm, at least decent exploration, which the first game definitely did not have. And so, not saying they wouldn't have to put in that work, but I have to imagine that if they were doing that for a much more powerful platform, maybe they would have an easier time. But if they are making this game for the PlayStation 4 as well, then I really don't have a lot of hope that we're going to see that much improvement, especially if Stone Connections is any reference, because that game doesn't even have a fucking open world. And so it really does seem like they're just abandoning that aspect that at one point, because right now, you guys might not know, I'm actually playing, I was playing Ultimate Ninja 4, the PlayStation 2 version, and now I'm playing Ultimate Ninja 5. I'm revisiting these games, and honestly, the open world in those games, while they're not amazing or anything like that, they were something. They were fucking something. It's fun running around. It's fun doing some ninja moving. It's fun, throwing weapons and you know fighting against some opponents in like in like fucking random encounters. It's fun doing all that shit. It's fun exploring it. Like, and I don't know, man. Like, I feel like in recent years, Cyberpunk 2 just hasn't really done a ton. And I will say that Hinokami Chronicles Open World, I would put it above like Storm 4, 3, and 2, just because at least it has 3D movements, and I think there is some like fairly minor platforming appeal where you have to like jump through a few areas and stuff like that. So it's better, and hopefully it continues to be better, but I wouldn't necessarily expect it to be that good. And that's, I think, my main concern. But we'll have to wait and see. I really hope they do something. I also I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I also hope they fucking don't make the same mistakes they've been making for the past couple of years, where quick time events are just laughable, where they're so fucking easy and you don't even need to like actually get them right in order to advance the game. Uh, I would not be very happy if they continue going to this route, but maybe they will. I'm pretty sure they will, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Hinokami Chronicles 2. I know some people might not be too excited for this, especially after Stone Connections, where a lot of people have lost faith in CyberConnect 2. And I'll tell you right now, my overall impressions of the studio is definitely a lot lower than before. But I don't know. I liked Hinokami Chronicles the first game, and I am expecting some improvements. And I also like a good ass fucking story mode in an anime game, which I do believe this game will probably have. So I'm interested. I'm gonna follow this game, and yeah, we'll wait and see. And also, in case you're wondering, yes, I have played Sparking Zero. It's a good game, pretty cool, awesome, amazing fan service, animation, everything. Not gonna play that game off online. It has too many defensive options. It's not very responsive, and yeah, I would fucking go insane if I actually took that game super seriously. But in terms of like playing it with like friends and stuff like that, absolutely nothing to complain about. It's really fun. But yeah, and I think that's the only anime game I've played for the past couple of years. I haven't played any other ones. I haven't played a fucking Jujutsu Kaisen game. I haven't played any of the fucking what else has come out. I don't know. I'm not really following anime games too closely recently, but yeah, this game I think I will follow. But yeah, that's it. All that's all I wanted to share. Goodbye.